The market is always on the move, and behind every number, there is an opportunity waiting to be found. Welcome to Elite Talk, the exclusive monthly podcast from Fu Hong Securities. Here, we break down market trends, share expert insights, and deliver actionable trading strategies to help you optimize your portfolio in any market condition. And this is the first episode. I am Minang, the host of the podcast, and joining me today is Ms. Lian, Head of Research at Fu Hong Securities. Ms. Lian, it's good to have you back today.
Thanks, Mingang. It's always a pleasure. This month's macro picture is particularly dynamic, so plenty to explore.
Ms. Lian, at the start of this month, perhaps nothing is hotter than the global picture, as the world seems to be witnessing signs of a new axis of power forming with closer ties between China, Russia, India, and North Korea. How do you think this alignment will affect the global economic political landscape?
Exactly as you just mentioned. On the geopolitical chessboard, China, Russia, India, and North Korea are closer than ever. The 80th anniversary of the victory over fascism in Beijing was almost like a declaration, signaling that a new axis of power may be emerging to counterbalance the US and the West. And when the chessboard shifts, the smaller pieces, meaning financial markets, can hardly avoid strong turbulence.
Clearly, the global outlook is becoming more unpredictable. And not only from the East, even in the US, the Trump administration has been rolling out unpredictable policies. Could you share more about the impact of this factor?
In the US, after weaker than expected job data, expectations have surged that the Fed will cut rates by 25, even 50 basis points in September. However, inflation risks remain since commodity prices have rebounded. That's why PHS leans toward the scenario of a 25 BPS cut, with caution maintained.
With the Fed keeping rates high, we've also seen ETF capital flows shifting back to the US, while emerging markets have faced heavy outflows, correct?
That's right. And not only in equities, but the safe haven demand for gold has also risen sharply. Major gold ETFs like BlackRock and SPDR Gold Trust have attracted tens of billions of USD since early 2025.
This shows that global investors are still looking for safe havens amid geopolitical and policy uncertainties. And of course, Vietnam is not immune to these global dynamics. Could you share a bit about Vietnam's current economic situation?
Moving into September, Vietnam's economy has many bright spots, most notably exports reaching a new record, lifting August's total trade turnover to 83 billion USD. However, looking deeper, domestic firms have sharply reduced imports of raw materials, down to about 10.7 billion USD, the lowest since early 2024. This indicates that domestic production is facing difficulties, especially after the US imposed a 20% tariff from August. Which sectors are being hit the hardest? Traditional export industries like textiles, footwear, and wood have slowed down. On the other hand, electronics and phones are still growing strongly thanks to FDI. Another point is that registered FDI in the first 8 months hit a record 26 billion USD with over 15 billion USD dispersed, but inflows have weakened over the past 2 months compared to earlier this year.
On the flip side, we've also seen concerns about inflation. Apart from this, how are other economic indicators looking?
Actually, August CPI rose slightly by 3.24% year over year, still within the controlled range. A positive signal is that consumption and tourism are recovering well, thanks to the A80 event and the strong return of international visitors, especially from China. This can be an important support, along with public investment and FDI, to help Vietnam sustain strong growth in Q3 and aim for 7 to 8% growth for the full year.
Recently, USD VND has been hitting new highs, worrying many investors. Where is this FX pressure coming from, and could it ease in the coming months?
Vietnam is under significant FX pressure. Capital inflows have not shown signs of improvement, while domestic rate cuts have only partially reduced dollar hoarding. So we believe USD VND will stay under pressure, likely fluctuating around 26,380 to 26,450 until capital flows truly return. However, if the Fed yields to Trump administration pressure and cuts rates more aggressively in September, combined with the prospect of Vietnam's market upgrade, investor sentiment could improve, easing FX pressure in Q4.
With all that said, could you give us your forecast for the economic outlook this September?
We expect September data, especially public investment, to be strongly boosted to close Q3 on a solid note, helping approach the growth targets set by the Prime Minister. Consumption and disbursement of public funds are expected to continue rising, thanks to cyclical factors, new school year, quarter end, and external factors, international visitors. This can be an important support, along with public investment and FDI, to help Vietnam sustain strong growth in Q3 and aim for 7 to 8% growth for the full year.
With all that said, could you give us your forecast for the economic outlook this September?
We expect September data, especially public investment, to be strongly boosted to close Q3 on a solid note, helping approach the growth target set by the Prime Minister. Consumption and disbursement of public funds are expected to continue rising thanks to cyclical factors, new school year, quarter end, and external factors, international visitors. This can be an important support, along with public investment and FDI, to help Vietnam sustain strong growth in Q3 and aim for 7 to 8% growth for the full year.
Besides the macro story, what many investors are equally concerned about is the Vietnamese stock market. August was truly a breakout month, with VN Index up nearly 12% and liquidity hitting a record over 55 trillion per session. Do you think this wave will continue in September?
Usually, after a big rally, the market tends to slow down and consolidate. We believe the market is entering a cooling off phase. VN Index is likely to fluctuate between 1580 and 1700 points in September. Liquidity remains abundant, but high margin pressure and strong foreign selling could make the market more selective. And in terms of positioning, are there names or sectors you believe warrant attention? We're keeping it focused. 3 names stand out. VCB, leading bank with superior asset quality benefiting from reduced reserve requirements. HPR, Hoa Phat Steel, benefits from anti-dumping policies, strong domestic demand, and the Dung Quat 2 project. MWG, record-breaking revenue and profit quarter. Bako Hoa Sign preparing for an IPO, and Arab Blue Chain in Indonesia turning profitable. All have strong fundamentals and are trading at attractive levels.
September's picture is truly multifaceted, with both uncertainties and opportunities. Thank you, Ms. Lian, for sharing such valuable insights. And for our listeners, thanks for joining us on Alpha Talks. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe us so you will get our latest episode each month from Phu Hong Securities. Goodbye, and see you in the next episode.